This one's in New Orleans. We told ourselves. So, okay, you know what, Carmen? I'm going to say this.
Okay.
The universe is in a dilemma here, okay? Because on one hand, this game's in New Orleans, right?
Yes.
The voodoo magic, the New Orleans home cooking. And I say that, I don't mean like they're cheating
On
or
the
anything.
other hand,
I mean like, you know, it's just like things can go in. It's just forces beyond nature, beyond your control that sometimes will the Saints to win. But on the other side,
Jameis Winston is that quarterback.
It's Jameis Winston. So this is the ultimate, like, the universe is in such a dilemma here with what is going to happen because Jameis wins all sorts of games that he should never win, and the Saints win all sorts of games that you would think that they would never win in New Orleans. And this is a titanic showdown of universal forces that we could never quantify or understand. We're going to try to do it, though. What is your matchup that matters here in this game?
Oh, God. And yeah, you've got the added benefit of like Jameis Winston has benefited from the New Orleans voodoo himself when he was the New Orleans Saint. He also was like played against them so many different times when he was with the Bucs, and you never know what's going to happen.
And he was with the Saints, obviously.
And he was with right. That's what I'm saying. Like he was with the Saints, and then before that, he was with the Bucs, and he played at the Saints. It's just, it's a lot. It's a building that Jameis Winston is very familiar in. He's very familiar with the voodoo that swirls in the Superdome. So. My matchup that matters, though, is going to be on the other side of things. It's got to be Myles Garrett going against the Saints offensive line. It sounds like there's optimism that Eric McCoy is going to be back sooner rather than later. I don't know if that's going to be this week or not, but that would be tremendous, or will be tremendous whenever that does end up happening, because the Saints O-line, 47.3 PFF pass blocking grade, which is dead last. It's not great. And 68.7 PFF grade overall, which ranks 20th, so bottom third-ish of the league. Myles Garrett this season among edge defenders, he's top 10 in most major metrics, 29 quarterback hurries, 41 pressures by himself. That's something that, you know, this is going to be a huge matchup. You see it right there. Saints tackles versus Myles Garrett. Trevor Penning, who has been wonderful for the Saints this year. I don't want to besmirch the name of Trevor Penning, given the fact that he was, I think a lot of people were out on him after last season, and now he's redeemed himself.
He's been better. I don't know if I want to go full redeem.
Okay, full redeem. Okay.
I don't know if I want to go full redeem, but he had an elite grade last week, and I won't take it away from him. I won't take it away.
And if you look at his grades, I feel like from the beginning of the season, when Eric McCoy was in, and when the rest of that Saints offensive line was kind of working together, Trevor Penning really looked like that dude again, and you were like, oh, okay, this is why he was drafted. So you saw the numbers against Myles Garrett versus Saints offensive line, and those tackles in particular. That's going to be, I think, a huge determining factor in how this ends up going for the Saints, and how the voodoo ends up swirling, is how much Myles Garrett is going to be effective.
I'll flip to the other side of things. I know people don't love when we just go like trenches, but obviously I do think this one matters because the Saints, not great at getting after the passer, low in pressure percentage, low in pressures, low in sacks. But they have an opportunity to go against the Browns offensive line that sort of is back, but they're still getting that chemistry with one another. Like with Wyatt Teller back, and with, you know, Jedrick Wills back in the lineup. I know that's been sort of a tough one. Jack Conklin back in the lineup, obviously, but that to me is a matchup that matters, because when you just look at the offensive line for Cleveland overall, they're one of the bottom 5 offensive lines in like overall blocking grade just for the season, overall blocking grade, pass blocking grade, all that stuff. Last 4 weeks, though, it has been better as the band has gotten back together. Do they get to come out and sort of like play their best ball yet as a group? I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because in theory, it should be a little bit of a get right game here for the Cleveland Browns and their offensive line. We'll see if that can actually be the case. My plus factor is Jameis. I've watched enough Jameis Winston football games to just know that there are some games he's going to win when he really shouldn't. And I'm going to be honest, we don't make predictions here on this show. No. I'd take the Browns to win. I would absolutely just take the Browns to win, because again, it's Jameis motivating himself up, giving himself the the pregame speeches in the mirror that only Jameis can give, and I just think that I don't even know how it's going to happen, guys. I really don't. We've got all of this data, we've got all this information, we've got all of these things that we can quantify and tell you exactly why something's going to happen the way that it's going to. And I actually think that we've got a pretty dang good hit rate so far this season as we have been doing these preview shows. But when it comes to Jameis Winston, there almost needs to just be a separate company to try to understand what is going to happen with him. And I just feel like we're going to eat a W. I think that he's going to eat a W in this one. And that's my plus factor. That's what I got.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm not going to argue there because there is no predicting things with Jameis Winston. And that's why it's so entertaining to watch him. He's one of the most entertaining quarterbacks in the league and has been. And we should know, given all of the games that we've watched. But I'm going to go somebody else on that, somebody on the Saints offense then that can maybe disrupt this a little bit. It's Alvin Kamara, but Alvin Kamara specifically as a receiver. Because his receiving stats among running backs, 421 receiving yards, which ranks first, 430 yards after the catch, which ranks first, 7 catches gaining 15 or more yards, tied for third. So this is something that, he's just a cheat code when it comes to bailing quarterbacks out and still making it productive. It's not as if a check down to Alvin Kamara is a gain of 5 or 6 yards or whatever, just, to get you a little bit of a positive gain. It can very well go for a first down. And we see that time and time again, given his yards after the catch ability. So how can you utilize him a little bit more in this matchup versus the Browns and kind of get him beyond the first level of the Browns defense? I think the easiest way to do that is to hit him as a receiver in, again, those short to intermediate routes and let Alvin Kamara do the rest, which he's so good at in space.
Quentin's in the chat taking the Saints. Mahal saying, love to hear a Winston pregame speech. We're going to get it. Mahal also mentioned that it was a Winston revenge game, which obviously we went over. But I